The rain hammered against the windows of our Portland home, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Barnaby, a systems analyst for a tech firm, stared at the picture on my phone, a picture I shouldn't have seen, a picture that had ripped apart the carefully constructed facade of my life. It was a candid shot, taken by a mutual friend at a company picnic, of my wife, Willow, locked in a passionate embrace with Thane, our next-door neighbor, a landscape architect with a winning smile and a seemingly harmless demeanor. Willow and I had been married for 15 years. 15 years of what I thought was unwavering love, mutual respect, and shared dreams. We'd built a comfortable life together, a life filled with weekend getaways to the Oregon coast, cozy evenings by the fireplace, and the quiet satisfaction of growing old together. We weren't the most exciting couple, perhaps, but we were solid, dependable, and deeply connected, or so I believed. The picture, however, told a different story. It spoke of a fiery passion, a secret longing, a connection that excluded me. The way Willow's hand clutched Thane's shirt, the way her eyes were closed in blissful surrender, the way their bodies seemed to melt into one another, it was a language of intimacy I hadn't seen directed at me in years. My first reaction was disbelief. Surely there had to be an explanation. Maybe the picture was taken out of context. Maybe it was just a friendly hug that looked more intimate than it was. Maybe, but the more I stared at the image, the more the doubt gnawed at me. It was there in the background, the subtle shift in Willow's behavior over the past few months. The late nights at the office, the vague excuses, the increased protectiveness of her phone, the diminished interest in our shared activities, all the pieces began to fall into place, painting a picture of betrayal I couldn't ignore. I spent the next few days in a daze, going through the motions of my job, barely able to focus on the lines of code in front of me. Sleep was a distant memory replaced by a relentless stream of questions and anxieties. How long had this been going on? Was our entire marriage a lie? What did Thane have that I didn't? The burning need for answers consumed me. I knew I couldn't confront Willow without proof, without something concrete to back up my suspicions. So I decided to play detective. I started by subtly observing her behavior, paying close attention to her phone calls, her text messages, and her comings and goings. One evening, while Willow was supposedly at a book club meeting, I decided to take a walk past Thane's house. The lights were on and I could hear faint music drifting from the windows. My heart pounded in my chest as I crept closer, peering through a gap in the curtains. What I saw confirmed my worst fears. Willow and Thane were sitting on the couch, laughing and talking intimately, their hands intertwined. The sight of them together, so comfortable and at ease in each other's presence, was like a punch to the gut. The betrayal felt even more profound than I had imagined. It wasn't just a physical affair, it was an emotional one, a sharing of secrets and intimacies that should have been reserved for me. I stumbled back to my house, feeling sick and disoriented. The pain was overwhelming, a crushing weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe. I spent the rest of the night pacing the floor, trying to make sense of what had happened. How could the woman I loved, the woman I had trusted with my heart and soul, do this to me? The next morning I decided to confront Willow. I waited for her to come downstairs, my hands trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. When she entered the kitchen, I held out my phone, the picture of her and Thane displayed on the screen. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Willow's face paled as she recognized the image. She tried to deny it at first, claiming it was just a harmless moment, a friendly gesture blown out of proportion. But I pressed her, demanding the truth. Finally, she broke down, confessing to the affair. She claimed it had started a few months ago, that she had been feeling neglected and unappreciated, that Thane had made her feel alive again. Her excuses were hollow and unconvincing. I didn't want to hear about her feelings or her needs. All I could feel was the burning rage of betrayal, the shattering of my illusions, the destruction of my marriage. "I want you out," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I want you out of this house, out of my life. I never want to see you again." Willow pleaded with me, begging for forgiveness, promising to end the affair. But I was adamant. The trust was broken, the damage irreparable. I couldn't stay with someone who had so callously disregarded my feelings, who had so easily betrayed our vows. She moved out that day, taking with her a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories. The house felt empty and desolate without her, filled with the ghosts of our past. I spent the next few weeks in a haze of grief and anger, struggling to come to terms with the loss of my marriage. As the days turned into weeks, I began to emerge from the fog of despair. I started exercising, spending time with friends, and pursuing hobbies I had long neglected. I realized that I couldn't let Willow's betrayal define me, that I had to move on with my life. But the anger still lingered, the need for revenge simmering beneath the surface. I couldn't let Thane get away with destroying my marriage, with stealing my wife. I needed to make him pay. I started digging into Thane's background, searching for any dirt I could find. It didn't take long to uncover some disturbing information. It turned out that Thane had a history of shady business dealings, of cutting corners and exploiting his clients. He had been involved in several lawsuits, accused of fraud and negligence. I gathered all the evidence I could find and anonymously sent it to the local news outlets. Within days, Thane's business was under investigation, his reputation in tatters. He was forced to close his company and face the prospect of criminal charges. Seeing Thane's downfall brought me a measure of satisfaction, but it didn't erase the pain. It didn't bring back the years I had lost, the trust that had been shattered. It was a hollow victory, a fleeting moment of triumph in a sea of sorrow. As for Willow, she tried to contact me several times, begging for another chance, but I refused to speak to her. I had nothing left to say. She had made her choice, and she had to live with the consequences. One day, I received a letter from Willow. In it, she confessed that she was pregnant with Thane's child. She claimed that she had ended the affair, but that Thane had refused to take responsibility for the baby. She was desperate and alone, with nowhere to turn. Part of me felt a pang of sympathy for her. She was now facing the consequences of her actions, the harsh reality of her choices. But I couldn't bring myself to forgive her. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. I didn't respond to her letter. I knew that helping her would only prolong the pain, would only keep me tethered to the past. I had to move on, to build a new life for myself, free from the shadows of betrayal. Years have passed since then. I've rebuilt my life, found new love, and created a new family. But the scars of Willow's betrayal still remain, a constant reminder of the fragility of trust and the devastating power of infidelity. I learned a valuable lesson from that experience, a lesson about the importance of honesty, loyalty, and communication in a relationship. I also learned that forgiveness is not always possible, that sometimes the only way to heal is to let go and move on. And to you, dear listener, if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, know that you are not alone. Betrayal is a common experience, a painful reality that many people face, but it doesn't have to define you. You can survive, you can heal, and you can find happiness again. Just remember to trust your instincts, to protect your heart, and to never compromise your values. This is Barnaby, signing off. Remember, life is too short to waste on those who don't deserve you.